All right, Daryl, I think this is something worth talking about this week anyway, but when I heard we were going to be talking to you, I think it fits extra nicely because obviously the big matchup between the Cowboys and the Eagles this week. Obviously, Dak Prescott playing at an incredible level over the last 6 or 7 weeks of the season. And I look at it and it's kind of amazing to remember for all the success in the 70s and the early 80s and obviously the 90s, the Dallas Cowboys have only had one NFL MVP, and it was your teammate, Emmitt Smith. So I'm curious for your perspective. What do you think it would take for a Cowboys quarterback to win MVP? What can Dak Prescott do to gain ground in that conversation with such a big game against Philadelphia coming up?
Yeah, that's crazy that Roger or Troy, even the stats
Exactly.
that Tony put up, in certain seasons that how often was he in the mix? So I think Cowboy fans will cry bias. I think the great thing for Dak is in the beginning of the season, we heard a lot of talk about the Texas Coast offense. And it really seemed like that was a way to kind of ease him into the season, get him comfortable. There was a lot of talk in the offseason. I know he got tired of it during the course of training camp and at the beginning of the season about the interceptions from last year. So to be able to play kind of a ball control style, minimize the risk, let's get into a flow, let's get off to a good start. But you can see when they flip that switch. I don't know what generated the conversation or why the change was made, but all of a sudden they became much more explosive down the field. Probably ties into a little bit with Brandon Cooks getting more comfortable and being healthy. But from that point on, his numbers merit him being not only in the conversation, but at the top of the conversation, because Patrick Mahomes is having a down year. Joe Burrow got hurt. Your perennial guys that have done that over the last few seasons are not a part of this conversation right now. So I think the one guy who's out there is going to be who's across from him on the field this Sunday. Jalen Hurts had a fantastic season last year. I don't think he's played to that level this year. I don't know how much the knee injury has played in that role.
Right.
But one of the guys that we're going to be working with this weekend, I think, is one of the guys that has to be in that conversation, and that's Lamar Jackson.
Sure.
I think the big thing for Lamar is without Mark Andrews, how does he play down the stretch? They have a brutal schedule. I mean, it's all in place for Lamar Jackson to kind of take over as the top guy at this conversation level right now as we get towards the end of the season. When you look at who they play down the stretch, if he can get Baltimore to the 1 seed with the games remaining that they have, the NFL's hardest schedule of remaining games, I think that he has to be a part of that conversation as well.
I think that's a really good point. I think all 5 of Baltimore's remaining games are against teams that are currently in the playoff chase. So a lot of opportunity for Lamar as well.